Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Filthy and I'm back with another video. Today we're looking at what is probably going to be the top pushback for the Crusader, possibly top 3 in the game, maybe even the ultimate top build. We'll just have to see how the season progresses. This is going to be the Aegis of Valour Holy Shotgun Sader.
I'd like to keep this handy for close encounters.
I heard that.
Now, I've been waiting until 267A to test this because there has been a slight nerf to it. Having played it a bit, I don't think the nerf is going to be particularly bad. Now, in the background you're seeing me do GR95. Not particularly impressive, but the sheet damage is only 700k, my strength is under 10,000, I've only got 3 ancient items, none of which are good. I haven't put a gift on my weapon, it's non-ancient. And also guys, it's hardcore, so pretty much if I die, it's...
Game over, man! It's game over!
Now I'll go through all the gear, we'll talk about some swaps, some things that might develop across the course of the season. I'll try and keep the D3 planner link updated in the description, so do check back later on just to see what is the current best way to play this. But before we jump in, I just want to welcome anyone who's new to the channel. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always guys, a thumbs up is greatly appreciated. Now in terms of the gear, we're going to take the Aegis of Valour, we're going to take 5 pieces and we're going to mix it with the Crimsons. Now looking at the 2-piece, attacking with Fist of Heavens empowers you, meaning that our Heaven's Fury deals 100% damage for 5 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. You want this at 3 stacks, so you need to cast Fist of Heavens 3 times, and you have a little buff icon that I'll show on screen now. You only want a Heaven's Fury when this is at 3 stacks, you don't want this to drop off. 300% is a huge multiplier, and obviously it's very important that you attack whilst this is up. Now if you do notice it drops off, you just got to use Fist of Heavens 3 times, don't use the shotgun until you've charged it up basically. Now looking at the 4-piece, the Fist of Heavens returns 5 Wrath. That's quite handy because Fist of Heavens is a spender and Heaven's Fury is also a spender, so the extra Wrath back on Fist of Heavens is nice. We also get 1% damage reduction for 10 seconds, stacking 50 times. This ramps up really quickly, you've only got to put a Fist of Heavens down and it's pretty much almost instantly up at 50. 10 seconds is quite a while, so you will find this doesn't really drop off unless you go for a long stretch without any density, but 50% toughness, pretty standard in the game and fairly handy. Now the 6-piece, we get Fist of Heavens increased damage for 20,000 and the same for Heaven's Fury. Now Fist of Heavens isn't going to be dealing any damage in this build, so it's all about the Heaven's Fury damage. So we're going to juice this up with 3 items. The first is in the cube, the Fate of the Fell. This is a 2-hander flail. Heaven's Fury gains 2 additional rays and has its damage increased by 500%. Obviously pretty huge damage increase. We're going to take the Braces of Fury on the character. This will give us up to 400% for enemies that are blinded, immobilized or stunned. We're going to be going for blind and we'll show how to get that off in the gameplay. And finally we're going to take the Shield of Fury. Every time we hit with Heaven's Fury and damage with it, we get a 30% damage increase. Stacks up to 20 times, so 600% multiplier. Now this was the nerf for 26A and it put a limit on the number of stacks. I don't think this is going to affect anybody other than the absolute top upper echelons, so it's still a really good build to run. Now we're also going to take the Crimson set. This is going to give us a further multiplier on the damage. The 2-piece gives us 20% cooldown, the 2-piece gives us 20% resource cost reduction. Both are fantastic for this build because we've got Akarat's Champion on a really long cooldown and Heaven's Fury is expensive on Wrath. Now also on the 3-piece we get damage percent increase depending on our cooldown reduction and damage reduction based on our resource cost rolls. So it's kind of like a flexible thing. You can gear the build up for more damage by sticking more cooldown items in, and you can also gear up toughness by going for resource cost reduction. Now the build is resource thirsty, so do bear that in mind. You know, the more you want to spam out your Heaven's Fury, the more resource cost rolls you're going to want. So, you know, resource cost rolls aren't bad, they do boost your toughness and they do mean that you can spam out more Heaven's Fury shotguns, so yeah, bear that in mind when gearing. Now we're also going to take the Traveller's Pledge and Compass Rose. This will give us a 50% damage reduction whilst we move between mob to mob, and when we stand still we get 100% extra damage. Now the 2 are on a slider, so as you move it ramps up to 50% DR, as you stand still it goes up to 100. So what you tend to find is that when you stop to engage an elite pack, your damage will just increase because of the Fury Shield, getting that extra 30% each time you hit with Heaven's Fury. You also get this multiplier going up, so at around about half, you know, 1/3 health, the elites will tend to just disappear because this will have ramped up to 100%. You'll have maybe got 3 or 4 Heaven's Furies off and you'll be dealing a lot more damage. Now final item weapon wise is going to be a pig sticker. This is currently how it's being run on the boards, and the idea is that the pig sticker will attack quite quickly because it naturally has a very high attacks per second. It also can get an extra stat on it. As I say, I haven't put a gift in this one. I don't want to juice my character up too much because this is what I'm planning on playing on season, so I don't want to burn myself out. And on the secondary you get a nice bonus damage to beasts and humans, so obviously when you're going top end with your fishing, maps with these kind of mobs on will obviously be handy. Now one thing I can see developing potentially across the course of the season will be an Ocwen Fury. Now this will give you up to a 75% attack speed. You get a stack every time you kill something, so I think it's 15% per stack. You also get move speed, which is nice because this build is quite slow. Now obviously if the whole argument for taking the pig sticker is the attack speed is better, then maybe I can see Ocwen Fury actually helping you out quite a lot. Now it does have an irritating secondary fear, which means the enemies will run away. That's a bit of a pain. And also you'll be looking for Rift Guardians with ads for this because the bonus does drop off fairly quickly over time, and obviously if you're just attacking the Rift Guardian, well then you're not getting the attack speed bonus. But also the damage range is higher on a mace, so you know it's a kind of balanced situation, but I can well see this potentially replacing the pig sticker, but obviously it'll be up to players much better than myself to test. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, how it goes. As for the legendary gems, we're going to take a Bane of the Trapped. It's a close range build, so this is just a flat damage increase. Obviously the blind gets this off as well. A Gogok of Swiftness will give us more attack speed, dodge chance, and also importantly some extra cooldown reduction, all of which is very useful for the build. And then finally on the boards, the top clears are using Pain Enhancer. This will basically give us more attack speed whenever we apply the bleed effect. So a critical strike will apply the bleed. This will increase our attack speed. Now in the footage I'm probably not getting much use out of this because I'm killing so quickly. So this is kind of again more of a top end item. You need this where you're not killing mobs so quickly so that you actually get the attack speed benefits. So until you get to that point, perhaps a Bane of the Powerful will be better because you'll get 20% increased damage, 15% more damage against elites and damage reduction. And again, maybe at the top end of clears at some point the Bane of the Stricken will be added because we do now have the cap on the shield. But again, we'll just have to see how that plays out. But again, I think for the average player, for a casual player, you're probably not going to need this. And if you want to boost up your toughness, you can go for an esoteric alteration. I probably should have run with that in the clear because I do come pretty close to dying a couple of times.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Now in a cube we're going to take the stone gauntlets. This is a very unusual item, but it will give us 50% extra armor stacking 5 times when we get hit. So once we take our first hit it goes up to 50%, second hit 100%. So 250% armor is huge. It makes the build incredibly tanky. It comes with a negative, which is that we get reduction in move speed and attack speed, again stacking up to 5 times. Now you are completely immune to these negative effects whilst you have Akarat's champion up, so obviously it's very important to roll cooldown absolutely everywhere you can, just to make sure you have as much uptime on that as possible. So again, you'll note in the footage, I don't have particularly high cooldown because again, I'm not juicing the character up. So you'll see at some points I look like I'm stuck, and that's because Akarat's champion isn't up and this negative effect is impacting me. Now to offset this, we're going to take the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. Whenever we hit with either Fist of Heavens or Heaven's Fury, we get 1 second reduction in any of our cooldowns. Obviously we want to funnel as many procs into Akarat's champion as possible so that we don't get that negative effect. Plus obviously Akarat's champion is going to give us more damage and more toughness and the free cheat death. Now again, we'll talk about the skills next, but I've numlocked some of them just because I definitely can't afford my toughness to drop on hardcore. So again, softcore, you might want to play it manually and then you could perhaps get some more procs into the Akarat's champion. But obviously it'll be up to you to work out how to play the build in your own particular way. Now other swap wise, I could maybe see an argument for a Flavour of Time giving you double pylons. Again, if you were fishing for a really nice map with a couple of pylons at the start. You would also then pair that potentially with a Convention of Elements to get a nice spike damage. Now again, because this does have a kind of damage window, there is a kind of set mechanic you need to go through to deal maximum damage. If that is timed with your Holy Cycle, I could see that eking out more damage. Again, I'm not a massive fan of this type of thing. This setup obviously is pretty complex and complicated, and I have seen the best clears so far with the Traveller's Pledge and Compass Rose, but again, it might develop over time. So that's the gear covered, guys, so we'll move on to the skills. Heaven's Fury, Fires of Heaven. This basically removes the cooldown on Heaven's Fury, which is great. It makes it a holy skill and it costs 40 Wrath. Obviously it is a little bit thirsty, so we kind of want to set everything up, which we'll talk about in the gameplay, before we spam this. Fist of Heaven's Fissure, this is good because you can put down 2 or 3 of these and they will chain between each other, which will help build up your toughness stacks, and also we need this at 3 stacks before we use the Heaven's Fury. Iron Skin, Steel Skin. Iron Skin is going to give us a 50% damage reduction. Steel Skin will increase the duration to 7 seconds. This helps us out with the Zodiac and means we can funnel more procs into the Akrat's champion. Laws of Valour, Unstoppable Force, we get extra attack speed, which is really nice, but we also get 50% wrath reduction. Super handy for Heaven's Fury because it is thirsty, and also this feeds directly into the Crimsons, so when this is up we do get a 50% toughness buff. So as I say, in the footage I've numlocked these 2, but by all means you can manually cast them. That will help you out for your Akrat's champion. Now this will give us 150% additional armor. We obviously add that to the stone gauntlets and it's absolutely huge. We get extra wrath regen, which is very nice because it means we can use more Heaven's Furies, and also we generally get more damage. We also get an extra cheat death, which is naturally very handy. Now Shield Glare, Zealous Glare, this is how we're going to get our blind off, so we can cast this on a 12-second cooldown. It also generates wrath for every enemy blinded. So the idea is you want to be a little selective with this, you want to kind of pick your target really. Now again, this is one of the reasons why cooldown is so important, because you want to have access to this as much as possible, so you can get this off and use your Heaven's Fury braces to basically dump Heaven's Fury damage. So for the passives, we're going to go further. This is a one-handed weapon, so we get extra attack speed and cooldown, which is really nice. Indestructible is going to be a cheat death. This obviously is very handy because if we do drop our Akrat's champion or we don't have our stone gauntlets at 5 stacks, then they're both pretty big toughness drops, so we will die from time to time, and obviously I wouldn't really take this off a push build, and I'm definitely not taking it off hardcore. Finery is going to give us 1.5% extra strength for every socketed item in the gear. Again, obviously this pairs really well with the build in general because it's more damage, more toughness. More strength is more armor, which again works really well with Akrat's and also with the stone gauntlets. And then long arm with the law seems a pretty much no-brainer. We're going to increase Laws of Valour to 10 seconds. That means we'll have perma uptime on it pretty much, which is really handy for resource management and toughness. Now in terms of playstyle, when you jump into the Rift, obviously you're going to want to pop Fist of Heavens. You're going to want to get up to 3 stacks before casting your Heaven's Fury. You're obviously going to want to use numlock for Laws of Valour and Iron Skin unless you're going to manually do those. Once you're at 3 stacks of the Fist of Heavens, so once you've got your Heaven's Fury up 3 stacks, you're then going to blind whatever it is you want to murder, and then you're going to hit Heaven's Fury. Now you want to use this in short controlled bursts.
Remember, short controlled bursts.
Because if you spam it, what will happen is your Fist of Heavens triple multiplier will drop off and then you'll have to build those stacks back up. So it's kind of 3 or 4 of these and then 1 Fist of Heavens should be enough to keep your buff up. But obviously again, if you do notice it drops off, then you don't want to be wasting these. You want them at 300% multiplier, so just make sure you get your Fist of Heavens stacks off and then go back to using Heaven's Fury. And bear in mind guys, you will get stronger as every fight goes on because your Shield of Fury will stack up to 600% multiplier, and also your Compass Rose Traveller's Pledge combo will go up to a double modifier, so the more you can stand still while dealing damage, then obviously the better. Jump in your ocular circles when you can and you should be pretty much good to go. So in terms of stats guys, I'll show you my gear, but basically it's cooldown absolutely everywhere you can get it. Resource cost is fine for toughness if you're struggling for that. Other than that, you know, area damage is good. You want critical hit chance, critical hit damage. Heaven's Fury damage you can get on your shoulders. You're going to want to get that on your shield as well. Your element of choice for braces is going to be holy damage. And obviously again, socket, holy, crit for amulet. Now for the gems in the gear, I've gone for all res gems in the pants and in the chest piece, just to help boost out the toughness. Our armor is so high that all res will balance this out quite nicely, but if you want to do more damage, you can take rubies, and you still do get a lot of benefit from them because of the toughness with the extra armor. But bear in mind, if you don't have your stone gauntlets at 5 stacks, then you will be a little bit more squishy until something hits you a few times. And then for the helm, I've gone for the topaz just for the resource cost reduction. So again, you can play around with this. You can add a cooldown gem, and you can maybe put some points in max wrath and paragon, again if you're struggling to keep your resource up. As I say guys, there will be a D3 planner link to all the suggested stats, and if the gear pieces do swap, then I'll try and keep that up to date. Now realistically, with the season theme juice, with some better gear pieces, with some augments, I think even fairly casual players will be able to sail past 100 with this build. It does take a little bit of getting used to the cycle and rotation of the gameplay, but it's not that hard and you can pick it up. Just remember, Heaven's Fury short control bursts.
Remember short controlled bursts.
So that's it guys, that's the guide. I hope you liked the build, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, leave me a thumbs up. I will see you very soon for some more Season 19 videos. Take it easy. Peace.